last season, if we're counting just the previous season we just saw, then Siakam was absolutely not in that conversation. But we aren't, and therefore he is top. All right, let's get on with the 2016 NBA entry redraft. So this has been a popular topic, especially on Twitter very recently. There was a tweet that went out by NBA Central regarding Bleacher Report's redraft of the 2016 class. And this is what Bleacher Report's redraft was. Spoiler alert, Bleacher Report have to report basketball, and when they do, you question your mental sanity, because how can Bleacher Report knowingly and willingly publish an article with this as their list? How can they look themselves in the mirror after putting Ben Simmons first on a redraft? It makes absolutely no sense. Every time I talk about the Bleacher Report related to basketball, I get upset. I'm trying not to right now. I'm trying to keep it in check. But this is what they had to say for the redraft. So I did my own redraft of the top 14 players. So I used the same 14 players here. I redid the lottery and did the correct order according to Mr. Amateur Hour. So let's get into the 14th overall pick. I keep it the same as Bleacher Report. Alex Caruso should go 14th overall. He actually did not get drafted, but he should go 14th overall. This is just I didn't make this edit, by the way. I don't know who did. This is photoshopped, obviously, because hasn't played for the Bulls yet. Alex Caruso, 14th overall, an NBA champion. You know, nothing crazy, but he's a nice player to have on your team. He's a nice player to have in your rotation. You know what he can bring on defense, and you know the firepower he can bring on offense in those little spells on the court. He's the type of guy that I think any team in the NBA would want here on their team. And the Bulls got a decent signing, maybe paid him a little bit too much. He's not the most skilled player, but a solid contract. And Alex Caruso fits the lottery. Incredible pickup. I mean, this guy had to work to get himself in the NBA. In the little end of the season garbage games with the Lakers a few years ago, showcased that he is able to play in the NBA and has not looked back ever since. 13 on the list is Jakob Poeltl. This is one in the last decade that Raptors fans want to forget. He actually went 9th overall. There are very few blemishes in the last decade in terms of the Raptors draft picks, and this is one of them. 9th overall. I mean, only 13th in the redraft. Maybe it wasn't the strongest of draft classes. I believe in the Bleacher Report one, they have Jakob Poeltl 10th, above DeJounte, above Zubac, above freaking Karis LeVert. I can't believe that. Just want to point that out. But Ivica Zubac, 12th overall in the redraft. He actually went 32nd overall to the Lakers, so a nice pick there for them. He's obviously now on the Clippers. He's a solid big. There's a lot of teams who would want him on their own team. I think the Raptors could possibly be included in that. Just a very solid big, and he's very young. People really don't understand how young this guy still is. Only in the 2016 NBA entry draft, so still some potential to fulfill, and still a solid player. 12th overall in the redraft. 11th overall is DeJounte Murray. Without those injuries, he could probably be higher on this list. He actually went 29th overall, so an excellent selection by the San Antonio Spurs. Really broke out last season for 15 points per game. His breakout season came 1 year after I was expecting it. Last season, I was calling for this guy to be the MIP and really break out. That didn't materialize, but last season really showcased the talent that he has on offense. He is a very good defender. People sometimes overlook that, but he's a very good defender. Offensively, he came into his own. He was a staple in my NBA fantasy team last year for the great stats that he did bring. Started putting the ball in the basket on a more consistent basis, really developed as a playmaker, and he's on the way to a bright NBA career. He could move up on this list, but for now, we have him at 11th, which is well higher than that 29th overall selection that he was in actuality. 10th on the list, we go to the top 10, Karis LeVert. First things first, I still cannot, will not, and will never, ever understand why the Houston Rockets traded away Karis LeVert for Victor Oladipo. There was that mega trade that sent Harden to the Brooklyn Nets, and as part of the trade, Karis LeVert was going to the Houston Rockets, and they essentially traded him straight up for Victor Oladipo, who left during the season. Karis LeVert, meanwhile, is a bright NBA player who was only drafted 20th overall, I believe by Indiana, actually, so he actually found his way back there, but on a very good contract, a very talented player who I think averaged 18 points per game last season. Can operate as a point guard, as like the dominant ball handler, can also operate as a shooting guard or a small forward as an off-ball type of player. This is a talented player. I like this player. Top 10 for me. I can't. Bleacher Report had Jakob Poeltl ahead of this guy. Incredible. 9th on the list. Sorry for the grainy picture here, but Buddy Hield, 9th overall in the redraft. He actually went 6th overall to the New Orleans Pelicans. In hindsight, they wouldn't have made that pick where they did. Buddy Hield is a solid player. We're gonna overlook the amount that he's overpaid, because he is overpaid, because getting overpaid doesn't really value a player. It's just how good is a player compared to the actual draft class. Buddy Hield is a solid player, one of the best three-point shooters in the league still. He's hot and cold definitely, but he's still a very good shooter. I believe he won a three-point contest a couple years ago. I believe it was him who had that buzzer beater in the three-point contest. But good shooter, solid player, the type of guy you would want on your team as the off-ball specialist in your starting five. But with that contract, he's making about $20 million a year. It's going to be hard for Sacramento to trade this guy. But as a player, super talented, still a top 10 player. Wouldn't have gone as high as 6, however. Next one on the list is Malcolm Brogdon. This is where I think there was a big gap after this player, but Malcolm Brogdon is definitely 8th overall in the redraft. He actually went 36 overall to the Milwaukee Bucks. In his final season with the Bucks, he averaged 50, 40, 90. Great stats. That was the season the Raptors beat the Bucks after being down 2-0 in the playoffs and ended up winning 4-2. Malcolm Brogdon did not get paid what he should have been paid by the Bucks. Ultimately worked out for Milwaukee, but ended up signing with the Indiana Pacers, where he broke out heavily as a playmaker, was putting up assist numbers we weren't imagining he would put up. Still has those fantastic shooting averages. I believe only has 1 year left on his contract. Indiana are going to really struggle to keep a hold of this player. Immensely talented, great shooter, great at getting to the rim, excellent free throw shooter, and also, like I said, has become a very good playmaker. Nice player to have on your team. Next player is Fred VanVleet, our man who went undrafted. He bet on himself, and in a redraft, he would be a 7th overall pick. Top 10 easily. Fred VanVleet, even though he may not be the most efficient of players, I have him over Malcolm Brogdon, because when the going gets tough, when you need the big plays, when you need somebody to step up to the occasion, Fred VanVleet has showcased that he is able to conquer adversity. Malcolm Brogdon, jury's still out on that. As in terms of the success a player has had, Fred VanVleet is an NBA champion. He is a 6th Man of the Year finalist. He is a G League champion if we want to go down that low. But Fred VanVleet was absolutely a monster in the NBA Finals. If he can achieve that sort of success and that sort of level at the highest and most pressure-filled situation in the NBA, he's 7th on this list, ahead of Malcolm Brogdon. Now, this is the point of the list up till 7, where the top 6, there's a huge gap, and you could easily move and replace anybody in the top 6. Here's what I have for my top 6. So it was very difficult to separate the guys in the top 6, but here's what I came up with. Number 6 is Domantas Sabonis. He actually went 11th. Solid pick by Orlando. Didn't harness his potential there or with, I believe he was at OKC for a while. Now with the Indiana Pacers breaking out, I think he's a 2-time All-Star, a triple-double machine, just a goon on the interior, can space out, also hit some threes. I really like Domantas Sabonis. It was hard for me to leave him out of the top 5, but regardless, this is an immensely talented player, and easily in the top 6 here. Kind of wanted to put him at 5, but I did go with Ben Simmons. So Bleacher Report had him number 1 in the redraft. He actually went 1st overall to the Philadelphia 76ers. In no way do I think Ben Simmons is better than the next 4 guys on this list. If you've been keeping track, you know who they are already, but there's no way. When there are big moments in big games, Ben Simmons does not rise to the occasion like other guys on this list. Ben Simmons showcased, evidently against the Hawks, his inability to play in big situations. He's also never really showcased any sort of ability to rise to an occasion. Go to any playoff series he's ever played in. Has Ben Simmons ever risen to something better than himself to will his team to victory? No. He's never done it. Will he ever do it? Maybe. And it's hard for me to put him here because a couple of years ago, I'm on record saying this is like a future MVP if he works for it. 2 years later, he's not working for it. He has not worked for it. He's still not working for it. Will that change? As a basketball neutral, I'd love to see it because this guy has so much potential, but he's just not showcasing it right now. And I said this is a guy who does not rise to the big occasion. Well, how about somebody who does? Jamal Murray, who actually went 7th overall. I mean, in the bubble, that playoff run in the bubble, that was one of the greatest playoff runs in recent history. Jamal Murray was absolutely unstoppable. I think he had 3 straight like 40+ point games against the Utah Jazz, or like near 50, over 50 point games. Was an absolute monster. And that is a player rising to a different level of himself when the going gets tough, when it comes into a very difficult situation. Something Ben Simmons has never done. Ben Simmons has never had to fight through that adversity that Jamal Murray has had to fight through. Who would you rather have point guard in your team? Who would you rather have? Because I would rather have Jamal Murray as the point guard of my team. Sure, Ben Simmons is way better defensively. But who, you know, in a big game, who would you rather have on your team for that game? In my opinion, that man is Jamal Murray. I can give him the ball and he can be that dog to get me the win. I can stick the ball in Jamal Murray's hands and tell me to go win me that basketball game. I'm not doing that with Ben Simmons. That's why I have him higher. Next on the list, Brandon Ingram actually went 2nd overall, which in hindsight was a great pick by the Lakers. Didn't harness his potential. Ended up trading him to the Pelicans in the Anthony Davis deal instead of trading Kyle Kuzma. But Brandon Ingram is a exceptionally talented player. I could definitely put Brandon Ingram in the top 2 as well. Not the top 1. I could put him in the top 2. I could see that. But, you know, we're not talking about this list as a right now on September 14th, 2021. Who is the better player? We're talking about their NBA career, because that's what we're going for with the draft. When you redraft, you're looking at their career. As a career, Brandon Ingram's on the up and can move higher. But, you know, right now, is he better than number 2? Yes. But as a career, is he better than Pascal Siakam? I don't think so. And what's crazy is Pascal Siakam went 27th overall to the Raptors, an absolute steal. This is a G League Finals MVP. This is an MIP. This is a player who was on the All-NBA second team. This is an All-Star starter previously. And most of all, most importantly, you see it on the hat. It is an NBA champion, and not just a regular NBA champion. So the guy was on the team. This is an NBA champion who was the 2nd best player on that team. Don't agree with me? Well, how about we look at the highest scoring duos in playoff history? The highest scoring duos in playoff history, 2nd on that list for combined scoring, is Pascal Siakam and Kawhi Leonard in that championship run, equal to the highest point output that Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen ever had. So don't go telling me that Pascal Siakam can't be that guy in the big moments. Don't go telling me he can't be. Because if you want to value Pascal Siakam's entire NBA career on a 6-game sample in the bubble, then you won't have him 2nd on your list. But I myself am going about whoever's career in the league. So if I want to count his 7-game stretch, I meant to say, against the Boston Celtics in the bubble, well then yeah, I have him maybe 6, but I'm not. I'm counting his whole NBA career. This is all NBA second team right here. This is an all-star right here, an all-star starter who this season he's so good that we called this season a regression yet he averaged 22 points per game, 7 rebounds per game, a career high in assists, got better on defense, and still maintained his field goal percentage despite his struggles from 3, which just shows you how much better he got on the interior. Pascal Siakam is number 2 on this list. I almost put him number 1. I struggled not to put him number 1, but I don't think it's going to be difficult. I think it'd be difficult to argue the number 1, and that's Jaylen Brown. He actually went 3rd overall. Great pick. In hindsight, Jaylen Brown averaged almost 25 points per game last season, is really coming into his own after getting drafted as somebody who couldn't really stretch the floor with a 3-point shooting. He is a lethal 3-point shooter. He's exceptional at getting to the rim, exceptional at getting his points in so many different ways. Jaylen Brown, I've seen him come up in big moments. He was the highest level. Nobody has gotten to the level of Pascal Siakam, but well, maybe Jamal Murray, but not at that high stakes situation that Pascal Siakam reached. I don't want to value team success too much, to set Pascal Siakam was a part of that, but the success of the Celtics recently has been a lot down to Jaylen Brown. And I would, if I could redraft 1st overall, I would take Jaylen Brown. Not only with that exceptional offensive ability, he's also a very good defender as well, much like Pascal Siakam. But in the end, we go with Jaylen Brown as our number 1 pick in the redraft. You guys don't like Siakam at the number 2. I know that anybody who's watching this, you may not be a Raptors fan. If you're not, you're probably freaking out that I have Siakam number 2, but I mean, I just explained why he's there. When the pressure is on in the highest stakes situations, Pascal Siakam has risen above almost everybody, if not everybody, on this list. And as a career, Siakam has had top 2 on this list. Last season, if we're counting just the previous season we just saw, then Siakam was absolutely not in that conversation. But we aren't, and therefore he is top 2 there. So let me hear what you guys think. Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comments on the Clip channel. You do your redraft. I mean, even if you don't like mine, it has to be better than the one Bleacher Report put out. And that's where we're going to end this off. Thank you for watching.